Have you ever walked out to your garden, full of hope, only to find your cucumber vines looking yellow, stunted, or covered in tiny, bitter fruit? It's incredibly frustrating. You put in the hours, you buy the expensive fertilizers, and yet, the neighbor's cucumbers look like they belong in a giant's kitchen, while yours are barely making it to the dinner table. Most gardeners think it's just bad luck or a lack of green thumb. But the truth is much simpler. You're likely working against nature instead of with it. By relying on heavy synthetic chemicals, you might actually be suffocating the very life force your plants need to thrive. Today, we are changing the game. I'm going to reveal the hidden science of giant cucumbers, a natural, biological secret that can literally double your yield while keeping your vines vibrant all season long. We're moving beyond basic gardening and diving into the underground handshake that makes record-breaking harvests possible. I'll walk you through the exact steps to unlock this power, from soil prep to the final pick. If you're ready to stop guessing and start growing like a pro, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. First, head to the comments and tell me what's the biggest challenge you face with cucumbers. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty. To grow cucumbers that truly defy the odds, you have to understand one thing. A plant is only as good as its gut health. Think about it like this. If you're an athlete training for a marathon, you can't just eat junk and expect to win. A cucumber plant is a high-performance athlete. It has to produce massive amounts of fruit in a very short window of time. But here is the problem most of us face. We're throwing food fertilizer into the soil, but the plant is starving. This is a phenomenon called nutrient lockout. You might be dumping the most expensive fertilizer on your garden, but if your soil chemistry is off, those nutrients are essentially locked in a safe that the roots don't have the key to. Most people see yellow leaves and think, oh, it needs more nitrogen. So they add more. The soil gets too salty. The roots shrivel up, and the plant eventually dies. It's a vicious cycle that costs you money and yields. But here's the real kicker. Cucumbers are about 95% water. That means their root system is working like a high-pressure pump 24/7. But a standard root system is actually quite limited in how far it can reach. It can only sip from the soil immediately touching the root hairs. If you want those giant results, we have to change the way the plant eats. We need to make the nutrients bioavailable, meaning they are already broken down and ready for the plant to absorb instantly. Many farmers make the mistake of thinking more fertilizer equals more growth. But in reality, if you don't have the hidden science to help the plant digest that food, you're just wasting your time. Quick tip for you. If you see your cucumber leaves curling at the edges or looking burnt after you fertilize, stop immediately. That's a clear sign of salt buildup. So, how do we give our plants the key to that nutrient safe? How do we expand the root system without actually growing more roots? That's exactly what we're diving into in the next section. Now, let's talk about the game changer. Are you ready for the secret? It isn't a magic chemical or some expensive gadget. It's actually a living partnership that's been around for millions of years. Mycorrhizal fungi. Think of these fungi as nature's internet. When you introduce them to your cucumber roots, they form a biological handshake. The fungi attach themselves to the roots and grow out into the soil like thousands of tiny, microscopic threads. These threads can reach into tiny crevices of the soil that a regular cucumber root could never touch. They find water and minerals, especially phosphorus, that are normally locked away, and they pipe them directly back into the plant. In exchange, the plant gives the fungi a little bit of sugar. It's the ultimate win-win. Why does this matter for giant cucumbers? Because cucumbers are basically bags of water. If your plant has to struggle for even 10 minutes during a hot afternoon, the fruit stops growing. With this fungal network, your plant has a massive backup reservoir. It's like having a high-speed fiber optic connection for nutrients instead of an old dial-up modem. A word of warning, though, a lot of folks kill this secret weapon without even knowing it. If you're using heavy tilling or cheap, high-phosphorus synthetic fertilizers, you're basically poisoning the fungi. You're destroying the very bridge that brings the food to your table. If you want those massive, prize-winning cucumbers, you need to stop thinking about feeding the plant and start thinking about feeding the fungi. When the soil is alive, the plant becomes unstoppable. So, how do we actually put this into practice and set up the perfect house for these fungi to live in? That's what we're going to cover in the next part. To grow a giant cucumber, you have to stop thinking about the vine and start thinking about the soil. You can have the best seeds in the world, but if you put them in dead dirt, you're going to get dead results. Think of your soil as the house for your natural secret fungi. If the house is uncomfortable, they'll move out, and your plant will starve. Cucumbers are heavy feeders and heavy drinkers, but they hate wet feet. If your soil is too heavy or clay-like, the roots will rot. If it's too sandy, the nutrients just wash away. We need that Goldilocks zone soil that holds moisture but breathes like a lung. Here is my black gold recipe for giant cucumbers. 40% high-quality compost. This is the lifeblood. It provides the organic matter that feeds our fungal partners. 30% loam or garden soil for structure and mineral content. 20% aeration rice husks, cocoa coir, or perlite. This keeps the soil fluffy so the roots can zip through it without resistance. 10% age manure. Think of this as slow release energy. Crucial warning, I see so many folks make this mistake. Never ever use fresh manure. It's too hot and will literally cook your roots and kill off the beneficial microbes we're trying to build. Always make sure it's well rotted, or hoi muck as we say. Before you plant, do the squeeze test. Grab a handful of moist soil and squeeze it. It should hold its shape, but crumble apart easily when you poke it. If it stays in a hard ball, it's too heavy. If it falls apart instantly, it's too sandy. When you get this balance right, you aren't just planting a seed. You're building a biological powerhouse. But how do we get that seed to actually wake up and start running? That's what we'll tackle next. You've got your black gold soil ready, but now we need the right engine to put in it. You can have the best soil in the world, but if you start with weak, old, or low-quality seeds, you're essentially trying to win a Formula One race with a lawnmower engine. It's just not going to happen. When you're looking for giant results, I always recommend going for F1 high-yield hybrids specifically bred for size and disease resistance, while heirloom seeds are great for history. If your goal is massive cucumbers that don't stop producing, you need those modern genetics. Look for varieties labeled long green or heavy producer. But wait, don't just shove that seed into the dirt yet. This is where most people get impatient and lose half their crop before it even starts. We need to wake up the seed and tell it that it's time to grow. I use the warm bath technique. Soak your seeds in warm water about 105 degrees Fahrenheit or 40 degrees Celsius. It should feel like a nice bath, not scalding for about 4 to 6 hours. But here is my little grandpa tip. Add a tiny drop of raw honey or a splash of aloe vera juice to the water. Honey has natural antifungal properties that protect the tiny embryo, and the enzymes in aloe vera act like a shot of adrenaline for the seed's metabolism. Warning: I've seen so many folks leave their seeds soaking for 24 hours or more. Don't do that. You'll literally drown the seed. It needs to breathe. If you see the seed start to split or show a tiny white tail, it's time to get it into the soil immediately. Once they're soaked, wrap them in a damp, not dripping paper towel and put them in a Ziploc bag in a warm spot. On top of your fridge is perfect. In about 24 to 48 hours, you'll see that little white root. That is the spark of life. Now, here is the critical part. When you transplant that sprouted seed, you have to be extremely gentle. If you snap that tiny white root hair, the plant might survive, but it will be stunted for life. It's like breaking a baby's leg. It's never going to run as fast as it should. But once that seed is in the ground, how do we keep that momentum going? That's where the feeding schedule comes in. And we're covering that in the next section. Once your vines are climbing, most gardeners make the fatal mistake of loving their plants to death. They dump high nitrogen fertilizer every week, thinking more is better. But here's the truth. If you want giant cucumbers, you have to be a strategic feeder. You need to follow the 3 golden phases of the cucumber life cycle. Phase 1 is the foundation days 1 to 15. Right now, your plant is building its engine. Do not force top growth. If you hit it with heavy nitrogen now, the plant grows tall and skinny, leaving the roots weak. It's like putting a Ferrari engine in a cardboard box. Just give it clean water and let those roots find the natural secret fungi we planted earlier. Phase 2 is the solar panels days 15 to 30. Now we need big, lush, dark green leaves. Why? Because those leaves are the solar panels that collect energy to build the fruit. If your leaves are pale or yellow, your solar panels are broken. This is the only time I push a bit of organic nitrogen to build that leafy canopy. Phase 3 is the giant phase. This is where the magic happens. The moment you see those first tiny flowers, you must switch gears. Stop the nitrogen. To get massive fruit, you need potassium and calcium. My secret weapon, The banana eggshell cocktail. I soaked dried banana peels in crushed, toasted eggshells in water for 48 hours. Potassium acts like a pump, forcing water into the fruit to make it swell, while calcium acts as the glue that keeps the skin strong and the inside crunchy. One final warning. Inconsistent watering is the #1 killer of taste. If you let the soil dry out until the leaves wilt, and then you drench it, your cucumbers will be bitter. To get giant, sweet results, keep the moisture steady, like a damp sponge. Never a swamp, and never a desert. Master these phases, and you won't just have a garden, you'll have a cucumber factory. Your vines are thriving. But don't look now, the enemies are at the gates. Most gardeners panic at the first hole in a leaf and reach for the heavy-duty chemicals. Stop if you do that. You're dropping a nuclear bomb on the very natural secret we've spent weeks building. Those synthetic pesticides don't just kill the bad guys. They soak into the dirt and slaughter the beneficial fungi feeding your giant cucumbers. You'll stop the bugs, but you'll also stop the growth. Instead, we use a natural shield. Let's talk about the big three: powdery mildew, aphids, and the dreaded cucumber beetle. To fight that white flower dust on your leaves, use the milk shield. Mix 1 part milk with 9 parts water and spray it in the bright sun. The proteins in the milk react with UV rays to create a natural antiseptic that wipes out mildew without harming a single microbe in your soil. It's cheap, effective, and 100% safe. For vampire bugs like aphids or mites, use organic neem oil mixed with a few drops of peppermint castile soap. This disrupts their breathing and breeding cycles without poisoning your family or your harvest. But remember, the best defense isn't a spray, it's airflow. If your vines are a tangled mess on the damp ground, you're inviting disaster. Train your plants to grow upward on a trellis. This keeps the leaves dry, the air moving, and makes it much harder for pests to hide. Pro tip: new bakunhe maxi lamne. They spray in the middle of a scorching afternoon. Never do that. Those water droplets act like tiny magnifying glasses, and the sun will literally fry your leaves. Always spray in the very early morning or at dusk. A healthy plant with a strong natural secret immune system can handle a few bugs. Don't aim for a sterile garden, aim for a balanced one. There you have it. The hidden science of giant cucumbers isn't just about watering more or buying bigger bags of fertilizer. It's about respect. It's about respecting the biological partnership between the roots and the soil, and using that natural secret to unlock potential that's been sitting in your garden all along. If you take away just 3 things from today, let it be these. Feed the soil, not just the plant. Those mycorrhizal fungi are your best employees. Keep them happy, and they'll do the heavy lifting for you. Consistency is king, whether it's your watering schedule or your pruning. A plant that never gets stressed is a plant that produces monsters. Don't be afraid to prune. Energy is a finite resource. Direct it where it matters, into those juicy, crunchy cucumbers. Imagine walking out to your garden 2 months from now and pulling back the leaves to find a cucumber so big and perfect you actually have to show it off to the neighbors. That feeling of success isn't just about the food. It's about knowing you've mastered the science of nature. Now it's your turn. I want you to go out and try this on just 5 of your plants this season. Compare the results, and I promise you'll never go back to the old way of gardening. If you found this guide helpful, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Share this video with a fellow gardener who's struggling with their harvest. And make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the science of the soil. Before you go, tell me in the comments, what crop should we tackle next? Tomatoes, peppers? Let me know below. Happy growing, and I'll see you in the next one.